Make sure to like this video and hit that subscribe button right now to see much more content just like this.
The rain came sideways across Callahan Ridge. Silver sheets driven hard enough to flatten the bluebonnets and turn every dirt road on the ranch into a vein of red mud. Inside the south barn, a 1,200-pound stallion screamed and struck the walls of his stall. Monarch had already broken one plank. Blood streaked his chest. Foam clung to the bit of an old halter someone had thrown on him in panic. Every few seconds, his powerful hind legs folded beneath him, and each time he forced himself upright again, wild-eyed and trembling. "Where's Wade?" Dr. Naomi Carter shouted. A ranch hand named Luis Mendoza held the stall door with both arms as the horse slammed into it again. "On his way from Fort Worth," Luis said. "He told us not to touch the horse until Dr. Harlan got here." Naomi opened her medical bag on an overturned feed bucket. "Dr. Harlan retired 6 months ago." "I know that." "Does Mr. Callahan?" Luis looked toward the open barn doors, where lightning flickered over the rolling Texas pasture. "He knows whatever he wants to know." Naomi glanced at the stallion. Monarch's coat was nearly black with sweat. His abdomen tightened in hard spasms. He kicked at his belly, staggered, then tried to lie down. She moved before anyone could stop her. "Keep his head up," she said. "Walk him if he'll walk. Don't let him roll." Luis and a younger hand named Danny pulled the stall door open. Naomi slipped inside with them, calm in the tight space, reading every movement of the animal's eyes, ears, legs, and breath. Monarch swung his head at her. She stepped aside, caught the lead, and spoke low. "Easy, big man. Nobody's fighting you." The stallion shuddered. Naomi pressed a hand to his neck. His pulse was racing. She listened to his abdomen, moved to the other side, listened again, then looked sharply at Luis. "How long has he been like this?" "Maybe 40 minutes. "What did he eat?" "Regular grain. Same as always." "Any new hay?" Luis hesitated. Naomi saw the answer before he gave it. "2 bales came from the north shed," he said. "The delivery got mixed in yesterday." She smelled the stallion's breath, checked his gums, then bent to examine the torn feed scattered across the stall floor. A pair of headlights swept across the barn. An engine roared through the rain. Luis muttered something in Spanish under his breath. Naomi did not need to ask who had arrived. The black pickup stopped so close to the barn entrance that mud splashed across the lower boards. The driver's door opened, and a tall man stepped out without a hat, his pale hair darkened by rain. Wade Callahan came through the doorway, like a man entering a fight he already believed was his. He was 51, broad-shouldered, weathered, and still carried the hard, upright posture that had made him look older than his years, even as a teenager. His work shirt was soaked at the collar. His jaw tightened when he saw strangers near his horse. Then his eyes landed on Naomi. "Who are you?" She kept one hand on Monarch's lead. "Dr. Naomi Carter." "I called Harlan." "Harlan retired." "I didn't call you." "Your foreman did." Luis stepped forward. "Boss," Monarch went down twice. She was the only equine vet close enough. Wade cut him off with a look. "This horse doesn't get touched by anyone I haven't cleared." Naomi stared at him through the dim barn light. He did not recognize her. That realization should not have hurt. 30 years had passed. She wore her hair shorter now. Silver threaded the curls at her temples. Fine lines had formed around her eyes. And the softness of the girl she had been had long ago been replaced by the steadiness of a woman who had survived more than anyone on this ranch knew. Still, Some buried part of her had expected recognition. She had expected him to see her. Instead, Wade looked at the dark skin of her face, the rainwater on her jacket, the medical bag by her boots, and saw only an intrusion. "Mr. Callahan," she said, "your stallion is showing signs of severe colic. His heart rate is elevated. His gut sounds are abnormal, and he may have eaten contaminated feed. He needs treatment now." I said nobody touches him. He may have a twisted intestine. You don't know that? No, I don't. That is why I need to examine him. Wade stepped closer to the stall. Monarch struck the wall again. The sound cracked through the barn like a gunshot. For half a second, Wade's anger broke. Fear passed across his face, naked and unmistakable. Then it hardened into control. "Get out of the stall." Naomi's voice dropped. "You called for a veterinarian." "I called for my veterinarian. He is no longer practicing. Then I'll haul Monarch to the clinic in Weatherford. You'll kill him on the trailer if he goes down." Wade's eyes narrowed. "You don't come onto my land and tell me what I can do with my horse. No, I come onto your land and tell you what is happening inside your horse, because that is the job your employee asked me to do." Luis looked between them, tense. The rain hammered harder on the metal roof. Wade stepped inside the stall. Monarch swung toward him, nostrils flared. Wade reached for the lead, but Naomi held it. "Move," he said. "Not until you hear me." "I've heard enough." He needs sedation, pain control, fluids, and a rectal examination. He may need surgery. Every minute you spend proving this is your ranch is a minute he spends losing blood supply to his bowel. Something changed in Wade's face. Not understanding, not gratitude, humiliation. His men were watching. A stranger was challenging him in his own barn. Worse, she was doing it with authority he could not easily dismiss. He reached past her for the lead. Monarch jerked back. Naomi moved with the horse, trying to keep him from rearing. Wade grabbed her arm. "Let go," she said. "Get off my land." Luis stared at him. "Boss?" "I said get her out." Naomi looked down at Wade's hand on her sleeve. Then she looked into his eyes. They were the same blue-gray she remembered from behind the old cotton gin. From summer evenings at the river, from a night when he had promised her that he would never let his family decide who he was allowed to love. But the man standing before her was not that boy. "Take your hand off me," she said. Wade released her. She passed the lead to Luis. "Walk him. Slowly. Do not let him roll. Remove every scrap of feed from this stall. Save samples from the north shed. If he starts sweating more, if his gums turn dark, or if he collapses again, call the state emergency clinic." Wade pointed toward the barn doors. "You're done here." Naomi closed her bag. Not with the horse. With all of it. She picked up her case and walked into the rain. Behind her, Monarch screamed again. She stopped beneath the edge of the barn roof, every instinct pulling her back. Wade followed her into the doorway. "Go," he said. Naomi turned. A gust of wind blew the wet curls away from the right side of her face. For a moment, the barn light caught the thin, crescent-shaped scar behind her ear. Wade went still. The scar had come from a barbed wire fence on an August night in 1992. She had been 17, trying to climb into his family's north pasture after his father locked the gate. Wade had torn his shirt to stop the bleeding. He had held her beneath a live oak tree while cicadas screamed in the darkness and told her he would remember that mark for the rest of his life. Now he stared at it as if the dead had spoken. Naomi saw recognition arrive. Not gently. It struck him. His mouth parted, but no sound came. She stood in the rain, holding the medical bag against her side. Naomi? She had imagined hearing him say her name again. In some versions, there had been apology in it. In others, wonder. She had never imagined it would sound like fear. Monarch hit the wall behind him. Naomi turned and walked toward her truck. Wade came after her. Naomi, wait. She opened the driver's door. Why didn't you tell me? She looked at him over the roof of the vehicle. You never asked who I was. You asked who let me onto your land. I didn't know. That has been true about you for a very long time. The stallion groaned inside the barn. Naomi shut her eyes for half a second. Then she looked toward Luis. Load my equipment back inside. Wade stared at her. She pulled off her wet jacket. I am going to save your horse, she said. After that, you can throw me off your land again. Monarch collapsed before they reached the stall. His body struck the floor with a force that shook dust from the rafters. Luis and Danny fought to keep his head from smashing into the boards, while Wade stood frozen at the threshold. Naomi moved past him. Get the tractor lights pointed through this door. I need room. Luis, call the surgical center and tell them I may be sending an emergency. Danny, bring me 2 clean buckets and every extension cord you have. Wade, if you are staying, make yourself useful. The old familiarity of his first name seemed to startle him. What do you need? Hold the flashlight. He obeyed. For the next 40 minutes, there was no past. There was only the horse. Naomi administered medication, passed a stomach tube, started fluids, checked Monarch's abdomen, and listened as the stallion's breathing changed from panic to exhausted distress. She worked with a precise economy that silenced the barn. Every order had a purpose. Every movement anticipated the next danger. Wade held the light where she told him. His hands shook once. Naomi pretended not to notice. Finally, she pulled off one glove, looked at him. I do not think the bowel has twisted yet. Yet? He has a severe impaction, possibly from mold or toxic seed in the feed. He is responding to medication, but he is not safe. I can stabilize him here and monitor through the night, or you can risk transport. You stay. The words came too quickly. Naomi looked at him. Wade cleared his throat. For Monarch. Of course. Another truck arrived an hour later, carrying Naomi's veterinary technician, a 28-year-old woman named Tessa Green, along with additional fluids and portable monitoring equipment. Tessa took one look at Wade and then at Naomi, but asked no questions. By midnight, the storm had passed east. The barn smelled of wet hay, antiseptic, and horse sweat. Monarch stood quietly with his head lowered while fluid ran through a line into his neck. His pulse had slowed. The danger had not passed. But for the first time since Naomi arrived, death no longer seemed to be standing inside the stall. Luis brought coffee in chipped ranch mugs. Naomi sat on an overturned bucket outside the stall, shoulders aching, and watched Monarch breathe. Wade remained near the tack room. He had changed into a dry shirt. His hair had begun to curl slightly at the ends, just as it had when he was young. Naomi hated that she remembered. Tessa checked the fluid bag and whispered, "You want me to stay?" "I'm fine." "That wasn't what I asked." Naomi gave her a look. Tessa raised both hands. I'll check the feed samples. She disappeared toward the north shed. Wade waited until they were alone. I heard you moved to Dallas. Naomi did not look at him. I did. And became a vet. That is usually what the degree on the wall means. I deserve that. You deserve a great many things. I haven't decided which ones I have the energy to deliver. He rubbed a hand over his mouth. I thought you were in Atlanta. I was, for 8 years. How long have you been back in Texas? 6 months. Wade stared toward Monarch. You came back here? To Parker County, not to you. I didn't say. You did not have to. Silence filled the barn. From somewhere outside came the steady drip of water from the roof. Wade lowered his voice. My father told me you left. Naomi's fingers tightened around the coffee mug. He told me your family moved after your mother was caught stealing from the breeding office. He said you knew about it. He said you took money from the safe and ran. Naomi turned slowly. Did you believe him? I was 18. That is not an answer. He showed me a police report. There was no police report. I know that now. The pain in his voice was real. Naomi had spent 30 years learning that real pain did not excuse real harm. When did you learn it? Wade looked away. After he died. How long ago? 4 years. And in 4 years, did you try to find us? I found your mother's obituary. The words cut deeper than Naomi expected. She placed the mug on the ground before she dropped it. My mother died believing your family had destroyed every trace of what she built. I'm sorry. You do not get to say that yet. He nodded once. Fair. The humility of it unsettled her more than an argument would have. Tessa returned, carrying a sealed plastic bag. This came from the bile Luis mentioned. She held up a handful of dried plant matter mixed with hay. There's something in here I don't like. Naomi stood. She spread the sample beneath the tack room light and separated the stems with a pair of forceps. Wade leaned closer. What is it? Possibly crotalaria, maybe another toxic weed. The mold is obvious, though. Where did this hay come from? Wade frowned. Same supplier we've used for years. Luis, who had entered behind Tessa, shook his head. No. The regular delivery was short. Mr. Price bought 6 emergency bales from a farm outside Mineral Wells. Who was Mr. Price? Naomi asked. My ranch manager, Wade said. Where is he? Home, I assume. Luis's expression shifted. What? He left early, Luis said, before Monarch got sick. Wade pulled out his phone. Naomi went back to the feed sample. This was not her ranch. The source of the hay was not her concern beyond Monarch's treatment. Yet the bag carried a smell she remembered from childhood. Sweet decay beneath dry grass. Her mother had taught her to recognize spoiled feed long before veterinary school. Never trust the top of a bale, Evelyn Carter used to say. Rot hides where no one bothers to pull it apart. Naomi had not thought about that sentence in years. Wade ended the call. Price isn't answering. Then document everything, Naomi said. No one touches the north shed. Do not throw away feed, packaging, twine, receipts, or delivery records. You think somebody did this deliberately? I think assumptions are how animals die. The words landed between them. Wade knew she was not only talking about the horse. Near dawn, Monarch passed a large mass of dry, compacted feed and manure. Luis laughed in relief. Tessa clapped both hands over her mouth. Even Wade leaned against the stall door as if his legs had weakened. Naomi examined the material, checked the stallion again, and finally allowed herself to breathe. "He is not clear," she said, "but this is what we needed." Wade stepped beside her. "You saved him." "I treated him." "You saved him." Naomi stripped off her gloves. "Have someone watch him continuously. Small amounts of water only. No feed until I return. I will come back this afternoon." Wade looked surprised. "You're coming back?" "He is my patient now." "You said you would leave after." "I say many things when angry and sleep-deprived." For the first time, something almost like a smile touched his face. It vanished when she looked at him. Outside, the clouds had broken over the eastern horizon. Pale gold spread across the wet pasture. The Callahan land rolled for nearly 2,000 acres, divided by limestone walls and black fences, every field shining after the storm. Naomi had once known every corner of it. She had ridden bareback through the lower pasture. She had hidden under the cedar bridge with Wade. She had watched her mother inspect newborn foals in these same barns, while Wade's father took credit for every successful breeding season. Standing there now, Naomi felt less like she had returned than like she had stepped into a place preserved inside a wound. Wade followed her to the truck. "Your mother's work is still here," he said. Naomi stopped. "What does that mean?" He looked toward the main house on the distant rise. "I found records after my father died, old breeding charts, notes in her handwriting." "You kept them?" "I didn't know what they were at first." "Where are they?" "In the house." Naomi studied his face. "Show me." The Callahan house had been built from pale stone in 1908, with a deep porch facing west and 6 white columns that made it look grander than it was. Naomi remembered entering through the kitchen as a child because her mother had never been invited through the front door. Wade led her up the front steps. He noticed when she hesitated. "My mother isn't here," he said. "She lives in Fort Worth now." "That isn't why I stopped." "I know." He opened the front door. Naomi walked through it anyway. The house smelled of cedar polish, old leather, and rain-damp stone. Family portraits lined the hallway. Wade's father, Russell Callahan, appeared in 3 of them, always in a hat, always looking slightly past the camera, as though the world itself were not important enough to hold his full attention. Naomi felt 17 again. Then she saw her own reflection in a narrow mirror beneath the staircase. A 50-year-old woman stared back. She wore muddy boots and a work shirt stained from treating a sick horse. Her eyes were tired, but they did not lower. She followed Wade into an office at the back of the house. He opened a locked cabinet and removed 2 cardboard archive boxes. The first contained tax records and receipts. The second stopped Naomi's breath. On top lay a black leather notebook with the initials EC pressed into one corner. Her mother's notebook. Naomi reached for it, then paused before touching the cover. The leather was cracked. A water stain had spread across the lower edge. A strip of blue cloth marked a page near the middle. "My father kept it in a safe," Wade said. "Why?" "I don't know." Naomi opened the notebook. Evelyn Carter's handwriting covered the pages in neat blue lines. Foaling dates, bloodlines, dietary notes, temperament observations, genetic risks, pairings to avoid, pairings worth repeating. Beside certain horses, she had drawn small stars. Naomi remembered those stars. Her mother used them for animals she believed could change a breeding program. page after page contained the foundation of what later became Callahan Ridge's celebrated line of endurance horses. Except her mother's name had disappeared from the official records. Naomi turned pages more quickly. Then she found a photograph tucked near the back. Evelyn Carter stood beside a chestnut mare, one hand resting on the animal's neck. She was 38, beautiful, serious, and wearing the same denim jacket Naomi had kept folded in a cedar chest after her death. Beside her stood Russell Callahan. On the back, her mother had written, "First sound foal from Grace Line, 50% partnership confirmed, April 3rd, 1991. Naomi read the sentence twice. "Partnership," she whispered. Wade nodded. "There are other notes." "An agreement?" "I haven't found one." "You said records." "There are breeding certificates that don't match the official registry. Payments made to a company called EC Livestock Consulting. Then they stop in 1992. The year Naomi's family was driven out." She closed the notebook. "You knew enough to look for me?" "Yes." "But you didn't." Wade rested both hands on the desk. "I searched your mother's name. That led me to the obituary. I found your clinic in Atlanta, but by then you had left. Did you call?" "No." "Right?" "No." "Why?" He met her eyes. "Because I was ashamed." Naomi gave a quiet, humorless laugh. Shame is a comfortable emotion, Wade. It lets people suffer privately while changing nothing. His face tightened. "You're right." Again, no defense. Again, it angered her. She lifted the notebook. "I'm taking this. It belongs to you. It may belong to an estate, a court, or whoever legally owns the intellectual property your father stole. We do not know yet. You always talked like that when you were angry." "Like what?" "Like every sentence had already been sharpened." She looked at him for a long moment. "You used to listen before I had to sharpen them." Wade lowered his eyes. Naomi carried the notebook out through the front door. This time, she did not hesitate. By noon, she had slept less than 2 hours. Her clinic occupied a renovated feed store 10 miles east of Weatherford. Carter Equine Mobile Veterinary Services was painted in dark green across the front window. Though most of Naomi's work took place in barns, paddocks, trailers, and fields. She had returned to Texas after selling her Atlanta practice to a younger partner. Officially, she wanted a slower life near open land. The truth was more complicated. Her mother had been gone 11 years. Her marriage had ended 6 years before that. Her only daughter, Maya, taught biology in Austin and had recently become engaged. Naomi had begun to realize that she had built a life around motion, achievement, and being needed. Then one morning, she woke in a beautiful house outside Atlanta and could not remember the last time she had felt at home. Texas had called to her in ways she resented. Not Callahan Ridge. Never that. But the dry wind, the live oaks, the smell of rain on dust, the enormous sky. Those things belonged to her too. She refused to surrender an entire state because one family had once made her mother feel small. Tessa entered the clinic office carrying 2 sandwiches. "You need to eat." Naomi kept reading the copied pages from her mother's notebook. "I am eating." "You are holding coffee. It contains calories. Not the kind that keep you from passing out inside a horse trailer." Tessa set a sandwich on the desk. She had worked for Naomi for 4 months and had already developed the confidence of someone who knew she was difficult to replace. "So," Tessa said, leaning against the filing cabinet, The rancher. No. I did not ask a question. You were about to. I was going to say he looks familiar. He does not. He called you Naomi like he'd been saying it in his sleep since the first George Bush administration. Naomi gave her a flat look. Tessa unwrapped her own sandwich. Fine, we'll discuss the attempted poisoning. We do not know it was attempted. The hay could be negligence, could be an emergency purchase from a careless supplier. You told Luis to preserve evidence. I tell everyone to preserve evidence. You told the Dawson family to throw out an entire bag of grain last week. The bag had rats living in it. Exactly. You did not bag the rats for trial. Naomi closed the notebook. I knew Wade when I was young. Tessa stopped chewing. How young? 17. Oh, that is all. That is very clearly not all. Naomi picked up the sandwich. Tessa waited. We were going to leave together, Naomi said. The words felt strange outside her own mind. Leave where? Anywhere. We did not have a sophisticated plan. What happened? His father found out. A week later, my mother was accused of stealing from the ranch. We lost our house because it was owned through her employment agreement. My mother took me to Georgia before the sheriff could put our belongings on the road. And Wade? He never came. Tessa's expression softened. He said he thought you stole money. He said many things before sunrise. Did you? Naomi looked at her. Sorry, stupid question. No, we did not steal anything. The phone rang. Tessa answered, listened, then held the receiver toward Naomi. It's Luis. Monarch is worse. The stallion's pain had returned. By the time Naomi reached the ranch, Monarch was sweating again, though less violently than before. His gut sounds had diminished. Wade stood outside the stall with his sleeves rolled to the elbows, looking as if he had not slept. I should have hauled him, he said. No, transport was the wrong choice then. What about now? Naomi examined the horse. His pulse had climbed. The impaction had shifted but not cleared. She performed another examination, administered more fluids, and called the surgical center. They can take him, she said. We move now. The ranch erupted into activity. A padded trailer was brought around. Naomi supervised every step of loading. Monarch resisted once, then followed her up the ramp, exhausted. Wade climbed into his truck. I'm coming. I assumed you would. They drove separately to the equine surgical hospital outside Fort Worth. Monarch remained standing during transport. But when they arrived, imaging revealed a displacement in the large colon. The surgeon recommended immediate operation. Wade signed the authorization without asking the cost. Naomi stood beside him in the waiting area after the doors closed. The hospital was bright, cold, and quiet. Rain clouds still darkened the windows, though the storm had passed. Wade sat with his forearms on his knees. He was born in my hands, he said. Naomi remained standing. His mother died after foaling. We raised him on a nurse mare. My daughter named him. Naomi looked at him. You have a daughter? Claire, she's 24. Where is she? Denver. What does she do? She designs irrigation systems. That sounds useful. She hasn't been home in 2 years. Naomi heard the meaning beneath it. Why? Wade leaned back. Because she thinks I became my father. The confession seemed to cost him something. Naomi sat across from him. Did you? He looked at the floor. Sometimes. The surgeon came out 90 minutes later. Monarch had survived the operation. The displacement had been corrected before the bowel lost viability. His chances were good, though complications remained possible. Wade closed his eyes. Naomi saw relief weaken him. When he stood, he reached toward her as if to embrace her. Then he stopped. "Thank you," he said. She nodded. He looked through the glass doors toward the surgical wing. "You were right. That does not bring me the joy people imagine. It used to. I was 17. They left the hospital after dark. Naomi was halfway to her truck when Wade called her name. She stopped but did not turn. "I waited for you at the bus station," he said. Naomi faced him. "What?" "The night we were supposed to leave, I waited until morning. You never came to my house. My father locked me in the equipment room." She stared at him. "I broke the window after midnight. By then, your house was empty. He told me you had taken money and gone." Naomi's heartbeat changed. "My mother and I did not leave until almost dawn. I went to the house." "No, you didn't." "I did. We were there." Wade took a step closer. "I went inside. The furniture was gone. We left furniture. We left almost everything. The parking lot seemed to tilt. For 30 years, Naomi had carried one memory with absolute certainty. Sitting in the passenger seat of her mother's Buick before sunrise, watching the ranch road through the rear window, waiting for Wade's truck to appear. It never had. Her mother had driven east, while Naomi refused to cry. Now Wade stood beneath fluorescent parking lights, telling her he had come to an empty house. "That is impossible," she said. "I remember every room." "You remember what someone wanted you to remember. So do you." The words were not cruel. That made them worse. Naomi opened her truck door. "Monarch will be monitored here. The surgeon will call you." "Naomi." She climbed inside. "Not tonight." She drove away with her mother's notebook lying on the passenger seat. The next morning, Wade's ranch manager returned. Earl Price was 58, heavy around the middle, and had worked at Callahan Ridge for 23 years. He claimed his phone battery had died and that he had spent the night with a sick sister near Granbury. Luis did not believe him. Neither did Wade. They stood in the ranch office while the damaged hay lay sealed in evidence bags on the desk. "You bought 6 bales from a supplier I never approved," Wade said. Earl removed his cap. "We were short. You left before the horses were fed. I had a family emergency. You didn't tell anyone about the hay. I told Danny." Danny, standing in the doorway, shook his head. Earl's face reddened. "Well, I meant to." Wade looked at the receipt. The seller's name was handwritten, Wilcox Feed and Farm. The address did not exist. "You paid cash?" Wade said. "They gave me a deal." "You took money from the ranch account." "Less than regular price. For poisoned hay." Earl's jaw hardened. "I didn't poison anything." Wade had known Earl since before his daughter was born. They had worked cattle together through ice storms, droughts, injuries, and 2 years when the bank came close to taking the land. Earl had stood beside Wade at his father's funeral. But loyalty did not erase facts. "You're suspended until I know what happened. This ranch won't last a week without me." Luis shifted in the doorway. Wade looked at him. "It will last." Earl placed his cap back on. "You're making a mistake because that woman got inside your head." The room went quiet. Wade's mild voice dropped. "What woman?" The vet. What does she have to do with bad hay? Earl shrugged, but his eyes moved toward the archive cabinet in the corner. Wade noticed. "Get off my land," he said. Earl laughed once. It was not a pleasant sound. "Careful using those words, Wade. Seems like they come back on you." He walked out. Luis waited until the truck disappeared. "You think he knows who Dr. Carter is?" "I think Earl knows more about this ranch than he has ever admitted." Wade opened the archive cabinet. For weeks after his father's death, he had gone through old records in restless bursts. He had found Evelyn Carter's notebook in a safe hidden behind a wall panel. He had also found breeding certificates, payment slips, and copies of documents signed by people who were now dead. He had not found a partnership agreement, but there had been an empty folder labeled Grace Line Contract. Now a second folder was missing. Wade pulled every file out. The folder had contained copies of early registry transfers involving the mare in Naomi's mother's photograph. He had seen it 3 days before. Someone had removed it. Only 3 people knew the cabinet key was kept beneath the desk drawer: Wade, Earl, and Russell Callahan, who had been dead 4 years. Naomi visited Monarch at the hospital that afternoon. The stallion stood in a recovery stall wearing a protective head bumper, tired but alert. He turned when he heard her voice. "Hello, Trouble." He lifted his nose toward her hand. She touched the white star on his forehead. The marking resembled a crooked flame. Her mother's chestnut mare, Grace, had carried the same shape. Naomi froze. She stepped back and asked the hospital administrator for Monarch's registration papers. Wade had submitted copies with the surgical forms. The stallion's bloodline appeared across 5 generations. Naomi traced the maternal side with one finger. Monarch's great-great-granddam was listed as Callahan's Southern Grace. The foaling date matched her mother's photograph. The breeder was listed as Russell Callahan. Naomi sat in the hospital office and stared at the paper until the letters blurred. Southern Grace had not belonged to Russell. The mare had been her mother's. Evelyn Carter purchased Grace from a small breeder near Macon, Georgia, using money saved from 10 years of work. She brought the mare to Texas with dreams of building her own line of durable, intelligent ranch horses. Russell provided pasture and breeding access in exchange for half the foals. At least, that was the agreement Naomi remembered. She had been a child, then a teenager. Adults rarely explained business clearly to children, but she remembered her mother saying, "One day this horse will buy us land nobody can take away." Instead, Grace became the foundation of Callahan Ridge. And Evelyn died in a rented house outside Atlanta, never owning more than 6 acres. Naomi called her daughter. Maya answered on the 3rd ring. "Mom, is everything okay?" "I need you to listen before reacting. That is not how people begin reassuring phone calls." Naomi told her about Wade, the ranch, the notebook, and the registration records. Maya remained silent for several seconds. Then she said, "You went back there alone?" "I went as a veterinarian." "He threw you out?" "Yes." "And now you're helping him?" "I helped the horse." "Mom, what would you have preferred? That I let an animal die because its owner failed to recognize me?" "No. I would prefer that you stop pretending this isn't breaking you open." Naomi looked through the office window at Monarch. "I am fine. You called me in the middle of a work day to tell me about a man you have mentioned 3 times in my entire life." "I have mentioned Wade more than 3 times. You called him someone I knew in Texas." Naomi leaned back in the chair. Maya's voice softened. Grandma used to talk in her sleep near the end. She said a name. Grace. The mayor. I thought it was a person. To her, maybe it was both. Are you going to investigate? Yes. Then I'm coming up this weekend. You have classes. It's summer session. I can miss Friday. Maya. Mom, Grandma raised me half my childhood. This is my family too. Naomi wanted to argue. Instead, she said, "Drive carefully." That evening, Wade arrived at the hospital carrying a folder. He found Naomi beside Monarch's stall. "I brought the missing records." She turned sharply. "You found them?" "No. I printed copies from photographs I took months ago." He handed them to her. Naomi flipped through registry transfers, payment logs, and breeding reports. Her mother's name appeared on early documents, then vanished. One transfer listed Southern Grace as payment for an unpaid housing debt. Evelyn Carter's signature appeared at the bottom. Naomi stared at it. "That is not her signature." "You're certain?" "My mother wrote her E like a backward 3. This is rounded." Wade leaned closer. The transfer was notarized. By whom? He pointed to the seal. Howard Bell. Naomi knew the name. Howard had been Russell Callahan's attorney and closest friend. He had also been the man who came to their house the night they were told to leave. Is he alive? 86 years old. Lives in a care facility near Arlington. We need to talk to him. We? Naomi closed the folder. This concerns my mother's property. And my father's crime. She looked at him. The word crime sounded heavy in his mouth. I suspended Earl, he added. The original folder disappeared from my office. Why would he steal records from 30 years ago? I don't know, but he knew exactly where to look. Naomi handed the folder back. I need copies. They're yours. No, they are evidence. Scan them. Send digital copies to me and keep the originals protected. Still sharpening every sentence. Still needing them sharp. Wade looked through the bars at Monarch. I called Claire. Naomi waited. I told her about you. That seems unnecessary. She knew part of the story, my father's version. What did you tell her? The truth. You do not know the truth. I told her that. He rested a hand on the stall door. She said she might come home. Naomi heard the hope in his voice. It reminded her that he was not only the boy who had failed her or the man who had thrown her out. He was also a father with a daughter who had stayed away for 2 years. People rarely fit inside one injury. That did not make the injury disappear. Wade turned toward her. Why didn't you ever look for me? Naomi almost laughed. I did. His face changed. I wrote to this ranch every week for 6 months. I never got a letter. I called twice. Your father answered the first time and told me you were engaged. Your mother answered the second and said you wanted no contact with thieves. I wasn't engaged? I know that now. Wade stepped back as if struck. My mother knew? Your mother knew everything. He stared at her. Naomi had wanted him to feel what she had felt. She had imagined telling him the details and watching certainty collapse. She had not expected the sight to make her sad. I stopped writing, she said. Then I started college. Then my mother got sick the first time. Life continued. Did you marry? Yes. Was he good to you? The question angered her. He was not a consolation prize, Wade. I didn't mean. Daniel was a good man. We loved each other. We raised a daughter. Our marriage ended because sometimes love changes and people fail in ordinary ways. Wade nodded. I'm glad you had that. Are you? Yes. She believed him. That was inconvenient. A nurse approached to update them on Monarch's condition. His vital signs were stable. If recovery continued, he could return to the ranch within a week. After the nurse left, Wade said, "Come with me to see Howard Bell tomorrow." Naomi looked at Monarch. The stallion's eyes were half closed. All right. Howard Bell lived in a private memory care facility surrounded by manicured lawns and young oak trees. The lobby displayed watercolor paintings and artificial flowers. A receptionist led Naomi and Wade to a sunroom where Howard sat in a wheelchair beneath a blanket despite the summer heat. He looked smaller than Naomi remembered. His white hair had thinned. His skin seemed nearly transparent over the bones of his hands. Yet when he saw Wade, recognition came quickly. "Russell?" Wade sat across from him. "No, sir. Wade." Howard blinked. "Wade." "This is Dr. Naomi Carter." The old man turned his head. For several seconds, he studied Naomi's face. Then his fingers began to tremble. "Evelyn, I'm her daughter." Howard closed his eyes. No, you went away. I came back." A nurse remained near the door. Wade kept his tone gentle. "Mr. Bell, we need to ask about documents you notarized for Southern Grace." Howard looked toward the windows. Russell said it was settled. "What was settled?" Naomi asked. "The debt. My mother did not owe a debt." Howard's mouth worked soundlessly. Wade placed a copy of the transfer form on the table. "Did Evelyn sign this?" Howard looked down. His breathing changed. He was protecting the ranch. "Who?" Wade asked. "Your father." "From what?" Howard rubbed his thumb against his forefinger, as though feeling invisible paper. "The bank, the breeding program, everything was built on that mare." Naomi leaned forward. "My mother owned half." Howard looked at her. "She owned more than half." The room went still. "What do you mean?" Naomi asked. "Russell had debts, couldn't pay stud fees. Evelyn used her savings, her mare, her records. She made the pairings." "How much did she own?" Howard's eyes filled with sudden clarity. 70% of the Grace line." Wade sat back. Naomi felt the floor shift beneath her. "Was there a contract?" Howard whispered. "Yes." "Where is it?" "Russell burned it." Naomi closed her eyes. "But I kept one," Howard said. Wade leaned forward. "Where?" Fear crossed the old man's face. "He found out." "Who found out?" Howard's gaze moved between them. "Earl's father." Naomi knew Earl Price's. Father had worked as ranch accountant in the early 1990s. "What did he do?" she asked. Howard began breathing too quickly. The nurse stepped closer. "Mr. Bell, you're safe." "No," he said. "No." The girl was crying. Russell locked the boy away. Evelyn wouldn't sign, so Vernon signed for her. Vernon Price, Earl's father. Wade's face went pale. "Where's the copy, Howard?" The old man gripped the blanket. "Church." "What church?" "Where Grace sleeps." The nurse ended the visit. Howard became agitated, calling for Russell and insisting someone was outside the window. Naomi and Wade were escorted back to the lobby. Neither spoke until they reached the parking lot. "Where Grace sleeps," Wade said. "My mother told me the mare died after we left." "She did." "Where was she buried?" "I don't know." "You owned the ranch?" "I was at college when it happened. My father said the body was taken away." Naomi looked toward the facility. Church may not mean a building. What else? My mother called the old foaling barn her church. Wade's eyes lifted. The stone barn near the north pasture? Yes. It was torn down 20 years ago. What is there now? A training ring. They drove back to Callahan Ridge without stopping. The training ring sat a quarter-mile from the main barn, encircled by white fencing. Young horses worked there during the cooler months. In summer, the ground lay dry and unused. Wade parked near the gate. Luis met them with 2 shovels and an old ranch map. I found the original stone foundation, he said. Most of it is under the west side. They walked the perimeter. Naomi remembered the barn dimly. Thick limestone walls, narrow windows, her mother singing while checking mares at night. In Naomi's memory, the building always smelled of straw and warm milk. Wade studied the map. If Grace was buried near the barn, she could be anywhere outside the foundation. Naomi looked toward a live oak standing beyond the ring. A small rusted horseshoe had been nailed into its trunk. Her mother used to mark graves that way. She walked to the tree. The soil beneath it had settled into a shallow depression. There, she said. They dug until sunset. At 3 feet, Luis's shovel struck metal. They cleared the soil by hand and uncovered an old ammunition box wrapped in a rotted canvas. It did not contain bones. The grave had been a hiding place. Wade lifted the box out. The lock had rusted away. Inside were papers sealed in waxed cloth, a photograph, and 3 letters. The contract lay on top. Evelyn Carter owned 70% of all breeding income, foal sales, and future registry rights derived from Southern Grace and specified offspring. Russell Callahan owned 30% and provided pasture, facilities, and operational support. Both signatures appeared at the bottom. Howard Bell had notarized it. Naomi sat in the dirt. For a long time, she could not speak. Her mother had not imagined the partnership. She had not misunderstood. She had not failed. She had been robbed. Wade read the first letter. His expression changed. What? Naomi asked. He handed it to her. The letter was from Howard to Evelyn, dated 2 days before the Carter family left Texas. Evelyn, Russell intends to use the housing agreement to pressure you into surrendering Grace. Do not sign anything. I have made a copy of the partnership contract and placed it where we discussed. Vernon Price has agreed to alter the account ledger, but I do not trust his reasons. Take Naomi somewhere safe until I can stop this. Naomi read the final sentence again. Take Naomi somewhere safe. The second letter was from Russell to Howard. It contained 1 line. The girl will ruin my son's life if her mother does not understand her place. Wade read it over Naomi's shoulder. His face hardened. That was him, he said. Naomi looked at the paper. Yes. No. I mean, those were his words. He used to say things like that and make them sound like wisdom. The third letter had never been opened. It was addressed to Wade in Evelyn Carter's handwriting. His hands shook as he broke the old seal. Wade, Naomi believes you abandoned her. I do not know what your father has told you, but we are leaving because he threatened to have me arrested and have Naomi placed somewhere I could not protect her. The accusation is false. The money he claims was stolen was transferred by Vernon Price under Russell's direction. Naomi waited for you. She still believes you may come before dawn. I cannot let her stay here any longer. If you ever loved her, find the courage to question the man who raised you. Evelyn Carter Wade stopped reading. The field around them had gone quiet. Luis moved away, giving them privacy. Naomi sat beneath the oak tree where her mother had hidden the truth. Wade lowered himself into the dirt across from her. "She knew," he said. "My mother knew you had not been told. She gave me a chance, yes, and I never found it." Naomi touched the edge of the letter. "No, your father made sure you wouldn't." Wade stared at the ground. "I spent 30 years angry at you. I spent 30 years trying not to be." He looked up. "Did it work?" "No." The honesty passed between them without protection. Wade's voice broke. "I loved you." Naomi shut her eyes. "Do not use the past to ask something from the present." "I'm not asking?" "Good. I'm telling you because I should have said it every day I had the chance." She rose. The ache in her knees reminded her they were no longer young enough for declarations beneath trees to solve anything. "Get the documents secured," she said. "We need an attorney." Wade stood. "I know one in Fort Worth. I will choose the attorney." A faint smile touched his mouth. "Of course you will." They scanned every page that night. Naomi called a lawyer named Denise Holloway, an old college friend who specialized in agricultural property disputes. Denise listened, asked precise questions, and warned them not to discuss the documents publicly until their authenticity had been examined. "The statute issues will be complicated," Denise said over speakerphone. "But ongoing royalty income, fraudulent concealment, and current ownership claims are different from simply suing over something that happened 30 years ago." Wade sat across from Naomi at the ranch office desk. "How bad could this be for the ranch?" he asked. Denise did not soften the answer. "Potentially catastrophic." Naomi looked at him. He did not flinch. "Then we find out what is owed," he said. After the call, Naomi gathered the copies. "You understand that restitution could mean selling this land?" "Yes." "Your daughter could lose her inheritance." "She inherited enough damage already." Naomi studied him. Before she could answer, Luis rushed into the office. "The north shed is on fire." Flames climbed through the roof by the time they reached it. The old hay structure stood separate from the main barns, but the wind pushed sparks toward a row of equipment sheds. Ranch hands dragged hoses across the yard. Wade climbed onto a tractor and used the bucket to tear down one burning wall before the fire could spread. Naomi helped move 2 horses from an adjacent paddock. Smoke rolled black across the night. The volunteer fire department arrived within 15 minutes. But the north shed was already lost. The contaminated hay, packaging, and remaining delivery evidence burned with it. When the flames were finally controlled, Wade stood in the mud watching the roof collapse. "This wasn't lightning," the fire chief said. "No storm tonight. We'll know more by morning." Luis approached, carrying something wrapped in a rag. "I found this near the back fence." He opened the cloth. Inside lay Earl Price's brass ranch key. Wade stared at it. Naomi looked toward the dark pasture beyond the fire trucks. Someone had known exactly what needed to disappear. The next morning, Earl was gone. His house stood empty. His truck had been abandoned at a bus station in Fort Worth. Bank records later showed a withdrawal of $9,000 made before dawn. The sheriff took a report, but warned Wade that a ranch key near the fire did not prove arson. Denise advised them to secure the historical documents in a bank vault. By afternoon, rumors spread through Weatherford. Callahan Ridge had poisoned one of its own horses. A disgruntled employee had set fire to a barn. A mystery veterinarian from Dallas was suing Wade for millions. The local feed store had heard that the entire Callahan breeding program was built on stolen stock. By evening, Wade's bank called. He sat alone in the ranch office after the conversation ended. The operating line of credit was under review. Monarch's surgery had cost more than expected. 2 buyers suspended purchases until they knew whether the horses carried disputed registration. A major annual auction was scheduled in 3 weeks, and without it, the ranch would miss debt payments before winter. Wade looked through the office window at the land his family had held for 5 generations. For most of his life, he had believed preserving it was the highest form of loyalty. Now he understood that the land had been preserved partly through theft. The realization did not make him love it less. It made the love feel guilty. A truck entered the drive after sunset. Claire stepped out. She had Wade's height, her mother's dark blonde hair, and a controlled expression that reminded him painfully of Naomi. He walked onto the porch. "I didn't think you'd come. You said the ranch might be in trouble. The ranch has been in trouble before. You also said Naomi Carter was back." Wade stopped. Claire crossed her arms. Granddad used to talk about her mother. What did he say? That she tried to steal horses, but Grandma once told me never to believe a story that made a dead man look too clean. Wade almost smiled. "That sounds like your grandmother." Claire looked toward the barns. "Is the vet here?" "No." "Are you in love with her?" The question struck with such force and simplicity that Wade had no prepared defense. "I was." "That wasn't my question." He looked toward the western sky. "Yes." Claire exhaled. "This is exactly why I stayed in Denver." "I know." "No, you don't. You think I left because you were controlling. I left because this family keeps every honest thing buried until it turns poisonous." Wade absorbed the words. "I'm trying to change that." "Trying before or after she found proof?" "After." Claire nodded. "At least that is honest." She carried her bag inside. Maya arrived at Naomi's house the following morning. She stepped out of a dusty blue Subaru, hugged her mother tightly, and immediately demanded to see the notebook. Maya was 27, with her grandmother's sharp cheekbones and Naomi's habit of becoming very still when angry. She read the recovered contract at the kitchen table while Naomi made coffee. 70%, Maya said. "Yes." "Do you understand what that could be worth?" "Denise is calculating." Grandma could have owned the ranch. Not the land, the breeding line. She could have bought land with what they owed her. Naomi sat across from her. That is what she planned. Maya looked at the photograph of Evelyn and Grace. "She never told me." She stopped talking about Texas after a few years. "She talked to me, just not clearly." Naomi lifted her eyes. "What did she say?" "That some people steal your money, and some steal your memory of who you were before they hurt you." The sentence sounded so much like Evelyn that Naomi had to look away. Maya reached across the table. "Mom, I'm all right." "You always say that right before becoming impossible." A knock came at the door. Wade stood outside with Claire. The 2 daughters met in Naomi's living room with the wary politeness of people who knew they had inherited a conflict they did not create. "This is Claire," Wade said. "I gathered," Naomi replied. Claire offered her hand. "Dr. Carter, I'm sorry for what my family did." Naomi shook it. "You are not responsible for your grandfather." "No, but I benefited from him." Maya looked at her with new interest. Wade explained that Claire had found digital irrigation survey files from an engineering review she completed for the ranch 3 years earlier. The survey used ground-penetrating radar near the old training ring, Claire said. There may be another buried structure under the eastern edge. Naomi frowned. Another box? Larger, maybe an old cistern. But it is directly beneath where the stone barn office used to stand. They returned to Callahan Ridge with Denise joining by video call. A contractor opened the ground carefully. Beneath 2 feet of packed soil, they found the stone roof of a small storage cellar that had survived the demolition. Inside were rusted tools, broken jars, and a locked steel cabinet. The cabinet contained breeding records, hundreds of them. Evelyn's original charts, veterinary invoices, full photographs, registry applications, and account ledgers extended across nearly a decade. Each showed her financial contribution and intellectual control of the program. At the bottom lay a cassette tape in a plastic case. Written across the label were the words, "For Naomi, when she's old enough." Naomi had no cassette player. Luis found one in his father's garage. They gathered in the ranch office after dark. Naomi, Maya, Wade, Claire, Luis, and Denise on a laptop screen. Naomi inserted the tape. Static filled the room. Then Evelyn Carter's voice emerged. Naomi gripped the edge of the desk. Her mother sounded younger, stronger, alive. "My name is Evelyn Ruth Carter. Today is August 14th, 1992. I am making this recording because Russell Callahan has threatened to accuse me of theft unless I sign over Southern Grace and all breeding rights connected to her line." No one moved. I did not steal from Callahan Ridge. Vernon Price transferred $12,000 from the breeding account under Russell's instructions. Russell intends to claim I took it. Howard Bell knows the truth, but he is afraid. The tape clicked softly. "My daughter Naomi and Russell's son Wade have been seeing each other. Russell believes their relationship will shame his family and interfere with Wade's future. He has threatened to use the sheriff, the bank, and the housing contract to separate us." Wade lowered his head. Evelyn's voice continued. "If Naomi hears this someday, I want her to know I did not leave because I was ashamed. I left because I was afraid they would take her from me. I also want her to know that Wade may not have chosen what happened. Young people often carry the blame for the cowardice of adults." Naomi's breath caught. Maya reached for her hand. "I have hidden copies of the contract and records in the old barn. If I cannot return, they belong to Naomi. Grace belongs to Naomi. Every foal and every dollar earned from that line must be accounted for." The recording paused. When Evelyn spoke again, her voice softened. "Baby, I am sorry I could not give you the home I promised. But no paper, no ranch, and no lie can change who you are. Land matters because of what people build on it. Blood matters because of what people protect. But dignity belongs to you before anyone gives permission." The tape ended. Naomi remained seated. She had spent decades thinking her mother's silence meant defeat. Now her voice filled the office, stronger than every lie that outlived her. Wade walked outside. Naomi followed several minutes later. He stood near the porch rail, looking over the dark fields. "She forgave me more than I deserve," he said. "She did not forgive you. She refused to condemn you without knowing. That is more grace than I gave her." "Yes." He nodded. Naomi stood beside him. The night smelled of warm grass and distant rain. "I hated her," Wade said. "Your mother. I believed she had used you. I believed she had taken money and convinced you to leave. My mother believed your father might send me to juvenile detention if she fought him. He would have tried. You know that now. I knew what he was capable of then. I just kept deciding he wouldn't do it to me. Naomi looked at him. That is how people like Russell survive. Everyone thinks the cruelty will stop at the edge of their own door. Wade's face tightened. I threw you off this ranch. Yes. I heard your name and still didn't see you. You saw a threat to your authority. I saw someone I could order away. Naomi waited. He turned toward her. I am sorry. This time, she let the words remain. She did not absolve him. She did not reject them. I believe you, she said. Wade's eyes closed briefly. Belief was not forgiveness, but it was more than he expected. The next week brought consequences. Independent experts authenticated the contract, letters, and recording. A forensic accountant began tracing 3 decades of breeding income. Preliminary estimates placed Evelyn Carter's unpaid share in the millions, though costs, taxes, reinvestment, and legal questions would reduce the final amount. The ranch could not pay without selling assets. Wade listed 200 acres along the southern highway. The land had recently attracted developers. Selling it could cover part of the debt while preserving the core ranch. Then Earl Price resurfaced. He did not return voluntarily. A highway patrol officer stopped him outside Tulsa for a broken taillight and discovered an outstanding warrant related to financial fraud at another ranch. In his truck, investigators found copies of Callahan breeding records, a can of accelerant, and correspondence with a representative from Barron Development Group, the same company negotiating to buy Wade's southern acreage. The scheme became clear slowly. Earl had been diverting ranch funds for years, using accounts established by his father. When he learned Wade had found the old records, he feared the forensic review would expose both generations of theft. He purchased spoiled hay through a false supplier, intending to create a health scare that would lower the ranch's value and force a quick sale to Barron. Monarch had not been targeted specifically. Any horse might have eaten the feed. The cruelty of that randomness sickened Naomi. Earl set fire to the shed to destroy evidence and stole the historical file because it contained account numbers tied to his father's ledgers. Barron denied knowledge of the arson or poisoned hay, but email showed one of its agents had promised Earl a consulting payment if the property sold below market value. The agent was fired. The investigation widened. Weatherford turned the story into public entertainment. Some people called Wade a victim. Others called him the latest Callahan, caught hiding behind money. A television crew parked outside the ranch gate. Reporters contacted Naomi's clinic. One offered payment for the cassette recording. Naomi refused every interview. Wade did too. Then a prominent horse buyer filed suit, claiming uncertainty over the Grace line invalidated previous sales. The annual Callahan auction became more important and more dangerous. Canceling it would leave the ranch without enough cash to operate. Holding it could look like an attempt to profit from disputed horses. Denise proposed a legal escrow arrangement. Sale proceeds connected to the Grace line would be held until ownership was resolved. Every buyer would receive full disclosure. It will reduce prices, Wade said. Yes, Denise replied. But transparency may keep the auction alive. Naomi sat across from him in the ranch office. You could sell the whole program. I know. Another breeder would pay. I know. Then why not? Wade looked through the window at Monarch's empty stall. The horse was due home from the hospital the next day. Because my father treated this ranch like a monument to himself, he said. I want to know whether it can become something else. Naomi thought of her mother's final words on the tape. Land matters because of what people build on it. What would you build? She asked. I don't know yet. That is not enough. No. He looked at her. What would you build? Naomi did not answer immediately. She had imagined a veterinary center years ago, one serving ranch families who could not afford emergency transport to Fort Worth. She had imagined training programs for young people who grew up around horses but had no path into veterinary medicine. She had imagined land where rescued animals could recover. She had stopped imagining because land cost money. My mother wanted a breeding farm, she said. Do you? No. What do you want? The question felt more intimate than any declaration. A regional equine hospital, she said. Emergency surgery, rehabilitation, a scholarship program, mobile care for small ranches. Wade nodded slowly. The South Acreage has highway access. It also has drainage problems. Claire can fix those. From the doorway, Claire said, I heard my name and a problem. Maya stood beside her, holding rolled plans. The daughters had spent 3 days reviewing ranch maps together. Claire spread the plans across the desk. The South Tract can support a clinic if we redirect the seasonal runoff and preserve the Lower Creek buffer. There is also room for a rehabilitation track. Maya added, and an education center. Naomi looked from one young woman to the other. What have you two been doing? What the adults should have done 30 years ago, Maya said. Planning, honestly. Wade almost laughed. Naomi did not, but only because she was trying not to cry. The proposal was premature. The legal ownership remained unresolved. Financing was uncertain. The ranch's reputation was damaged, and Naomi still had a clinic to run. But an idea had entered the room. Once spoken, it refused to leave. Monarch returned home to a quiet welcome. Naomi walked beside him down the trailer ramp. He had lost weight, and a shaved patch marked the surgical site, but his eyes were bright. Wade touched the stallion's neck. Welcome home? Monarch pressed his nose against Wade's chest. Claire stood near the stall door, watching her father. You really thought he would die? She asked. Yes. Would you have listened to Dr. Carter sooner if she were a white man? Wade looked at Naomi. The question carried no anger. That made escape impossible. I would like to say yes, he replied. But I don't know. Claire nodded. Then say that publicly. Naomi turned to her. Why? Because everyone in town is calling this a misunderstanding. It was not. Wade stared at his daughter. Then he said, You're right. 2 days later, he asked to speak at the County Horse Association meeting. The community hall was full. Ranchers, breeders, feed suppliers, reporters, and neighbors filled every chair. Naomi sat in the back beside Maya and Denise. She had not agreed to speak. Wade stood at the front without notes. My name is Wade Callahan, he began. Most of you know me, or you know what my family is claimed to be. The room quieted. 3 weeks ago, Dr. Naomi Carter came onto my ranch to save a horse. I questioned her authority, ignored her medical judgment, and ordered her off my land. I did this before I recognized her as someone I knew when we were young. A reporter raised a camera. Wade continued. Some have called what happened confusion under stress. It was more than that. I assumed ownership gave me the right to humiliate a professional who was trying to help me. I treated competence as disrespect because it came from someone I had already decided did not belong. Naomi felt every eye move toward her. She kept her gaze on Wade. My father, Russell Callahan, stole breeding rights and income from Evelyn Carter, Dr. Carter's mother. He used false accusations to drive her family from this county. My family benefited. I benefited. Murmurs spread through the hall. Wade did not stop. The records are under legal review. I will comply with whatever restitution is required, even if it costs my family land. Callahan Ridge will not sell horses from the disputed line without full disclosure and escrow. An older rancher stood. You're destroying your own name. Wade looked at him. No, I'm telling you what built it. The man sat down. Wade's voice lowered. Dr. Carter saved Monarch after I gave her every reason to leave him to my judgment. She stayed because the animal mattered more than my pride. I cannot undo what I did. I can make sure no one mistakes silence for innocence. He stepped away from the microphone. The room remained quiet. Then Luis began to clap. Claire joined him. Maya followed. The applause grew unevenly, some sincere, some reluctant, some absent entirely. Naomi did not clap. She stood, every face turned toward her. She walked to the front and took the microphone. Wade looked surprised. Naomi faced the room. My mother did not need Wade Callahan to confess in order for the truth to be true, she said. She did not need this town to approve of her skill, her ownership, or her dignity. No one moved. But public harm creates a public debt. Silence protects the people who caused it. So I acknowledge what Mr. Callahan has done here tonight. She glanced at Wade. Accountability is not redemption. It is the beginning of the work that may someday make redemption possible. Then she returned the microphone and walked out. Wade found her near the parking lot. I didn't know you were going to speak. Neither did I. Were you angry? Yes. At me? Yes. He nodded. Naomi looked back at the hall. You did the right thing. The relief on his face was immediate. She raised a hand. Do not make me regret saying that. I won't. You may. I'll try not to. That is more believable. They stood beneath the parking lot lights, older than the last time they had faced a future together, and far less certain. Wade said, There's something else. Naomi waited. My mother wants to see you. No. She says she has information. Naomi's jaw tightened. Your mother had 30 years. I know. What information? She would not tell me. Then she can tell Denise. She asked for you. People in your family ask for a great deal after taking first. Wade did not argue. Naomi drove home. At 2 a.m, she woke from a dream in which her mother stood inside the old stone barn, calling her name. When Naomi reached the door, the barn was empty, except for unopened letters falling from the rafters. She lay awake until dawn. At 9, she called Wade. I will meet your mother once. Margaret Callahan lived in a restored townhouse near the Fort Worth Cultural District. She opened the door herself. At 79, she remained elegant, silver-haired, and composed. Age had softened her body, but not her posture. When she saw Naomi, one hand tightened around the doorframe. You look like Evelyn, Margaret said. Naomi stepped inside. No, I look like myself. Margaret nodded. Yes, you always did. Wade waited in the sitting room. Naomi remained standing. What do you know? Margaret sat on the edge of a chair. I knew about you and Wade. That is established. I knew Russell planned to separate you, also established. I helped him. Wade turned toward his mother. Margaret looked at her son. I answered Naomi's phone call. I told her you wanted no contact. Wade's face changed. You said you never spoke to her. I lied. Naomi felt strangely calm. What else? Margaret folded her hands. Russell locked Wade in the equipment room. I had the key. Wade stood. You could have let me out. Yes. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid. Of him. Of losing everything. The ranch. Our standing. You. You lost me anyway. Margaret closed her eyes. Yes. Naomi watched the family fracture in front of her and felt no triumph. Margaret reached into a drawer and removed a bundle of letters tied with faded ribbon. These came for Wade after you left. Naomi recognized her own handwriting, every letter she had sent. Wade stared at them. Margaret placed the bundle on the table. I kept them. Why? Naomi asked. At first, as insurance. I thought if Russell changed his mind, I could give them to Wade. Later, I kept them because destroying them felt worse. Keeping them was not mercy. No. Wade picked up the first envelope. His name was written across it in the rounded hand Naomi had at 18. He did not open it. Margaret looked at Naomi. Evelyn came back once. Naomi stopped breathing. When? 1997. My mother never returned to Texas. She did. She came alone. What did she want? To negotiate. She had begun treatment for breast cancer and feared she might die. She offered to settle the ownership claim quietly if Russell created a trust for you. Naomi gripped the back of a chair. Why didn't she tell me? She wanted to protect you from another disappointment. What happened? Russell refused. He told her the records were gone and Howard would deny everything. I heard them argue. Wade's voice was low. And you did nothing. Margaret looked at him. I offered her money from my own account. Naomi laughed once, stunned by the cruelty hidden inside the gesture. You offered to buy her silence. I told myself I was helping. How much? $50,000. My mother was owed millions. I know. Did she take it? No. Naomi already knew the answer. Margaret's eyes filled. She said, I did not come here to be paid for disappearing. Then she left. The room was silent. Naomi looked at the letters on the table. What information did you think justified asking me here? Margaret rose slowly. There is a trust. Wade stared at her. What trust? Russell created it after Evelyn's visit. For whom? For you, Naomi. Margaret walked to a cabinet and removed a legal envelope. He never funded it properly, but he transferred one asset. Naomi opened the document. The trust owned 160 acres bordering the southern edge of Callahan Ridge. The land had been purchased through a holding company in 1998. Russell designated Naomi Carter as beneficiary, but the trust required notification only upon his wife's death. Margaret was still alive. You knew? Wade asked. I found the documents after Russell died. 4 years ago. Yes. You let her go 4 more years without knowing. Margaret looked at Naomi. I was ashamed. Naomi thought of what she had told Wade. Shame is a comfortable emotion. She placed the document on the table. Why now? Because Wade finally did what I never did. He told the truth where people could hear it. Margaret began to cry, quietly and without performance. I cannot ask you to forgive me. No. I am sorry. Naomi picked up her letters. They belonged to Wade. They were written by you. They were written for him. She handed them across the table. Wade took them carefully. Naomi turned toward the door. Margaret called her name. Naomi stopped. Your mother was the bravest person I ever knew, Margaret said. Naomi looked back. She should not have needed bravery in your house. Then she left. Outside, Wade caught up with her on the sidewalk. I didn't know. I believe you. He held the letters against his chest. She stole my life. No. She stole choices. Your life is what you did after. The distinction hurt him. It was meant to. Naomi looked at the trust document in her hand. Russell's motive remained unclear. Guilt, fear, legal protection, or some late attempt at control from beyond the grave. Whatever his reason, the acreage changed everything. The 160 acres adjoined the tract they had considered for the veterinary center. Combined, the property offered enough space for a hospital, rehabilitation barns, pasture, and training facilities. It was valuable land. But for Naomi, its first meaning was simpler. Her mother had wanted soil no one could take away. Now, through a secret created by the man who robbed her, part of that promise had returned. The legal settlement took months. Summer gave way to a dry autumn. Monarch recovered steadily. Naomi visited twice a week, first as his veterinarian, and later because the ranch had become impossible to avoid. The forensic accounting confirmed extensive fraud by both Russell Callahan and Vernon Price. Some claims were too old to recover fully. Others, tied to continuing breeding income and concealed ownership, remained enforceable. Denise negotiated a settlement. Naomi and Maya received ownership of the 160-acre trust property immediately, a substantial share of future Graceline revenue, and a 40% interest in the core breeding program. Wade transferred an additional 60 acres from the ranch to support the proposed hospital. 2 luxury vehicles, a vacation property inherited from Russell, and several non-essential assets were sold to fund restitution. The Callahan family did not lose the ranch, but it no longer belonged only to them. Some townspeople called the arrangement generous. Naomi rejected the word. Returning stolen value was not generosity. Still, Wade went beyond the minimum in one important way. He placed voting control of the Grace breeding program into a new board divided among Naomi, Maya, Claire, Luis, and himself. No single family should control the truth again, he said. The first board meeting lasted 4 hours and included 3 arguments over fencing, 2 over branding, and 1 over whether the old Callahan name should remain on the horses. Maya wanted to remove it. Claire wanted historical transparency. Luis suggested a new name. Naomi listened, then opened her mother's notebook. On the inside back cover, Evelyn had once written a possible farm name: Grace and Grit. The board approved it unanimously. Construction on the veterinary center began in November. The groundbreaking drew local news crews, ranch families, veterinary students, and people who had known Evelyn. An elderly woman brought a photograph of Naomi's mother helping deliver a foal in 1989. A retired farrier admitted that everyone in the county knew Evelyn did most of the breeding work. But no one wanted to challenge Russell. Naomi thanked him for the photograph. She did not thank him for the confession. Truth offered late was still truth, but lateness had consequences. Wade understood that better each day. He sold his father's portrait at an estate auction and donated the proceeds to the center's scholarship fund. When a reporter asked whether the act symbolized rejecting his family, Wade answered, "No, It symbolizes refusing to worship it. Claire moved back to Texas temporarily to oversee water management for the construction project. Temporarily became 6 months. She and Wade argued often, but now they argued openly. That was progress. Maya traveled from Austin every other weekend. She developed an education partnership between the center and rural high schools, focusing on students from communities historically excluded from agricultural sciences. Luis became ranch operations director. He moved into the manager's house Earl once occupied, then painted the front door bright blue because Earl had hated color. Margaret Callahan attended one board meeting. She sat near the back and said little. At the end, she approached Naomi with a box containing Evelyn's old denim jacket. "Russell kept it," Margaret said. Naomi touched the worn sleeve. "Why?" "I don't know." This time, Margaret did not invent an answer. Naomi accepted the box. Forgiveness did not arrive, but hatred loosened its grip enough for Naomi to breathe around it. Winter settled gently over North Texas. One cold evening, Naomi finished examining a mare and found Wade waiting outside the new rehabilitation barn. Construction lights shone across the half-built hospital frame. He held 2 paper cups of coffee. "I brought the kind with actual calories," he said. "Tessa has been talking to you. She says you're difficult to maintain." Naomi accepted the cup. They walked along the fence. Monarch grazed in the nearest pasture, his coat thick against the cold. He had regained most of his weight. The surgical scar had healed to a pale line beneath his belly. Wade leaned against the rail. I read the letters. All of them. Twice. That seems excessive. I waited 30 years. Naomi looked across the pasture. "What did they say? You don't remember?" "I remember the girl who wrote them. I am not always sure I understand her. She was angry. She had reason. She was also hopeful." Naomi said nothing. Wade pulled one folded page from his jacket. "You wrote that love was not supposed to make people smaller." "I was dramatic. You were right." He returned the paper to his pocket. "I don't want to make you smaller. That is a low standard." "I know." She looked at him. He smiled faintly. "I'm learning." They stood in silence. The old pull between them had never disappeared. Naomi had tried to name it nostalgia, grief, unfinished anger, or the chemistry of remembered youth. Each explanation held part of the truth. None held all of it. She cared for Wade. That fact frightened her more than resentment ever had. Resentment built walls. Care opened doors. "I cannot become the ending that makes your apology beautiful," she said. Wade's expression sobered. "I know. I am not proof that you have changed. I know. My mother's story is not a path back to the girl I was. I know that too." Naomi searched his face. "What do you want from me?" "The chance to know who you are now." The answer was simple. No promise. No demand. She looked at Monarch. The stallion lifted his head. "I am having dinner at 7 tomorrow," Naomi said, "at a restaurant in town." Wade waited. "You may be there." His smile began slowly. "I will. If you are late, I will leave. I'll be early. That may be worse. I'll sit in the truck." Naomi walked away before he could see her smile. Their first dinner was awkward. The second was easier. By the 5th, they had stopped speaking only about the past. Wade learned that Naomi hated jazz played too loudly, loved old mystery novels, and still put hot sauce on eggs. Naomi learned that Wade secretly baked excellent bread, watched documentaries about bridges, and had not ridden competitively since Claire left. They argued about land use, politics, horse training, and whether people could truly change. They did not kiss. Not until spring. The new hospital walls were standing by then. Wildflowers spread across the lower fields. Grace and Grit's first foal was born beneath Naomi's supervision. A dark chestnut filly with a crooked white flame on her forehead. Maya named her Evelyn's Promise. Naomi protested that the name was sentimental. Everyone ignored her. One evening after checking the foal, Naomi found Wade beneath the old live oak near the training ring. The rusted horseshoe still marked the place where they had found the documents. He had placed a small stone at the base of the tree. Evelyn Ruth Carter Breeder, mother, founder. Her work lives here. Naomi touched the carved letters. You did this? With Maya's approval? She approved, founder? She insisted. Naomi stood quietly. I wish my mother could see it. Wade looked at the pasture. Maybe this is how she does. That sounds dangerously poetic for you. I've been reading old letters. Naomi turned toward him. For a moment, neither moved. Then Wade said, May I kiss you? At 18, he had never asked. He had kissed her behind barns, beside rivers, beneath trees, with the fearless certainty of someone who believed desire was enough permission. At 51, he waited. Naomi stepped closer. Yes. The kiss was gentle. It did not restore what had been stolen. It did not erase grief or turn betrayal into destiny. It was not a return. It was a beginning made by two people who finally understood the cost of pretending beginnings came without history. When they separated, Wade rested his forehead against hers. I remembered this differently. He said, You were shorter. I was 6 feet tall. Memory is unreliable. He laughed. The sound startled a bird from the oak branches. Naomi smiled. Then Monarch screamed from the upper pasture. They turned together. A section of temporary fencing had collapsed near the construction road. Monarch and 3 young horses galloped toward an open gate where trucks entered the property. Wade ran for the utility vehicle. Naomi climbed in beside him. The horses broke through the gate before they reached it. Beyond lay the county road. A concrete truck approached from the east. Wade accelerated across the field, trying to cut the herd off. Naomi grabbed the radio and called the construction crew to block the western lane. Monarch led the horses toward the road. The concrete truck sounded its horn. The young horses panicked and scattered. One turned back. Another slipped in the mud. Monarch continued forward. Wade swerved the utility vehicle between the stallion and the road. Monarch reared, striking the air above the hood. Back up, Naomi shouted. Wade reversed. Naomi jumped out with a lead rope. The stallion came down hard, eyes wide. She walked toward him, not directly, but at an angle. Monarch. The truck braked 50 yards away. Dust rolled across the road. Monarch tossed his head. Naomi held out one hand. Easy, big man. The same words she had spoken the night she returned. The stallion's ears flicked forward. Behind him, Wade moved slowly to close the open gate. Monarch took one step toward Naomi, then another. She caught the halter and turned him away from the road. The danger passed as quickly as it had appeared. Construction workers secured the fence. Wade gathered the other horses. No one was injured. But Naomi stood shaking after Monarch was safely returned. Wade approached. You all right? Yes. You're trembling. So are you. He looked down at his hands. They were. Naomi began to laugh, not because anything was funny, because terror had passed, because the horse was alive, because sometimes the body needed another way to release what it had survived. Wade laughed with her. Then they stood in the torn pasture holding each other while the workers pretended not to watch. The hospital opened in September, 14 months after Naomi first drove onto Callahan Ridge. The Grace Carter Regional Equine Center carried both the name of the mare that began the bloodline and the family that protected it. A bronze plaque near the entrance told Evelyn's story without softening what had been done to her. The center included 2 surgical suites, rehabilitation stalls, an underwater treadmill, classrooms, and a mobile care program for ranches across 4 counties. On opening day, more than 600 people came. Some were there for the building, some for the scandal, some for the horses. Naomi stood behind the main barn before the ceremony, trying to avoid reporters. Maya found her. "You have to come out." "I will." "You've been hiding for 20 minutes. "I am not hiding. I am checking inventory." "In a hay shed?" "Hay is inventory." Maya crossed her arms. Naomi sighed. "You look like your grandmother." "Good." They walked toward the crowd. A stage had been built near the front entrance. Claire stood beside Louise. Tessa held a pair of oversized ceremonial scissors and looked far too pleased with them. Wade waited near the microphone. He did not call Naomi forward. He had learned she disliked public gestures she had not approved. Instead, he began with Evelyn. He spoke about her skill, the breeding program, the theft, and the long cost of silence. Then Maya spoke about education. Claire spoke about land restoration. Louise spoke about the ranch workers who had kept animals alive while owners took credit. Finally, Naomi approached the microphone. The crowd quieted. Behind her, the hospital doors stood open. Monarch waited inside the demonstration barn, calm and fully recovered. "When my mother left Texas," Naomi said, "she believed she had lost the land, the horses, and the future she worked for." She looked across the faces before her. She was wrong about one thing. Work done with truth does not disappear just because someone else puts a name on it. It survives in records, in memory, in skill passed from one person to another. Sometimes it survives in the bloodline of a horse. A breeze moved across the field. This center is not an apology built from stone. Apologies are words. This is restitution made useful. Wade watched her from beside the stage. It belongs to every ranch family who has faced an emergency and could not reach care. It belongs to every young person who was told agriculture had no place for them. It belongs to the workers whose knowledge is too often treated as less valuable than ownership. Naomi looked toward Maya. And it belongs to those who came before us, who protected their dignity even when no one protected their rights. She stepped away from the microphone. The applause rose slowly, then filled the field. After the ceremony, an elderly black man approached Naomi. He introduced himself as Samuel Brooks. His father had worked with Evelyn at Callahan Ridge. He used to say your mama could look at a foal for 10 seconds and tell you what kind of heart it had. Samuel said. Naomi smiled. She believed horses revealed themselves quickly. Samuel looked toward Wade. People take longer. Yes, Naomi said. They do. As evening settled, the crowd thinned. Monarch stood in the pasture beside Evelyn's promise, the young filly moving around him with fearless curiosity. Wade joined Naomi at the fence. You survived the speech. Barely. You were good. I know. He smiled. Across the field, Margaret Callahan stood alone near Evelyn's memorial stone. She placed a small bunch of bluebonnets at its base. Naomi watched, but did not approach. Some distances were not punishment. They were boundaries. Wade rested his arms on the fence. Claire is staying. I heard. She bought a house in Weatherford. I heard that too. You hear everything? I employ Tessa. They stood quietly. Wade looked toward the hospital. Did it become what you imagined? No. His face fell slightly. Naomi continued. It became larger. He nodded. A truck rolled down the driveway. The last visitors waved through open windows. From the pasture, Monarch lifted his head toward Naomi. She opened the gate and walked inside. The stallion approached, sunlight warming the dark curve of his neck. Naomi touched the crooked white flame on his forehead. Wade entered behind her. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I had recognized you before I threw you out? He asked. Yes. What do you think? I think you might have behaved better. I would have. And then we might never have learned whether you could become better. Wade considered that. That sounds like forgiveness. It is not. Not yet. Naomi looked at him. Do not ruin the moment. He raised both hands. Monarch moved between them, impatient with human complexity. Naomi laughed and stroked his neck. The sun lowered over Callahan Ridge, casting long shadows across land that no longer carried one family's name as unquestioned truth. The old wrong had not vanished. It had been named, measured, and answered with something living. A hospital, a restored legacy, a daughter returned home, a new generation given choices, and two people who had once been separated by fear now stood together without pretending love could erase the past. It could not. But with truth, courage, and time, love could help build what came after. Naomi looked across the pasture her mother should have owned, and for the first time, it did not feel like stolen ground. It felt like home.